1% of dudes rapping, they ain't nice as me. 98% ain't live the same type of life as me. The judge gave me life and then they sent me where the life is be. That level 4 with depth and vice, the type of stuff they like to see. Two choices, fight or flee. I refuse to die a chump. I never been a mark, but damn, it's scary when that riot jump. I seen dudes cry, get pumped, and some sexually brutalized. Knew a dude who lost his life and he was only doing 5 year-long racial fights when homie all you do is ride. Lonely days and nights up in a hole causing suicide. From the moment you arrive, you see the Mexican Mafia, AB skinheads with big giant swastikas, pro-black philosophers, the BGF, the Kumi, and Muslims who will murk you from the nation to the Sunni. That MS was loony, quick to ride up on they rival. Even Christians went to church, hide knives up in a Bible. Political and tribal, the Crips and Damus, the Long Beach, the Hubs and the Dubs and the Grooves, the IE, the Bakersfield, the Dago Pyrus, the Hustlers quick to roll, the gangsters gon' move, whatever click you choose.
Say, what's cracking, YouTube? It's your boy 16 to life, and I'm back like I'm on a parole violation. Yard down! For those of y'all that's new to my page, in 1994, I got arrested. I was eventually sentenced to 16 years plus life, and I served 24 years straight in the California prison system. Yeah, that's me gassing right there on that intro. And if you want to get that song, it is available only for purchase on a 10-song EP on a digital download. If you're interested, hit me up on my email, 16tolifemusic@gmail.com. Cashapp, PayPal is me $20, and I'm going to get it to you ASAP. Let's hop right up into today's video, man. So I'm going to be doing a reaction to a video called O.G.LANEYAK, Mafia Lanes, the origin of 50-50 and SNY Yard. So yeah, let's hop right up into it, man. Hey, what's good, Complexion Blackness? I know you thought I forgot about this video, but no, here we go, man. Let's get it.
All right, man. I'm with somebody real special today, man. Go ahead and introduce yourself, G-homie.
My conscious name that I've been going by with people I'm intimate with in prison in terms of camaraderie is Bomani Jaha. My handle from the hood, from the streets, is O.G.LANEYAK from Mafia Lanes.
Okay. That's what's up, man. That's what's up. How long you been down?
I've been down on my second term for a little over 33 years.
33 years.
A little over.
Damn, man. First and foremost, he said on his second term, which of course obviously indicates he'd been to prison before that. But 33 years, I mean, that is a hell of a long time, man. That is just a long time. I did 24 years, and man, 33 years is just so much can happen. The world changes. The world changes, man. And it quickly reminds me of when I paroled in 2018, and I went to they call it a transitional house, but it's pretty much like a halfway house, right? And so I come outside, and I'd been there for a while, and it was a dude there who had just got out, and he did something like 36, 37 years, man. And I come outside, he just got a big old smile on his face. He got his phone, and he's watching an old school Parliament concert, for those of you guys familiar with the group Parliament. And I said, it feel good, huh, OG? And you could just look at him. His mind was just somewhere just like back in those times. And it reminded me of a lyric by this one rapper, man. He said, I met this ninja last night. He said the last song he heard was Flashlight, and he's still in there tonight. So just imagine, man, just being in jail that long, that's just, and then being able to come out and, catch up with things on your phone is just, I'm pretty sure that has to be an amazing feeling.
A long time. And I just been speaking out about a lot of stuff with mental health and all this new stuff with 50-50 or whatever they call it. When the first time you heard that term, 50-50?
Well, the first time I heard that particular term for it, I've heard other terms for it, but I don't remember those names. The only name I remember making it official on 50-50 was around 98, 99. 98, 99, and when you first heard that term, what was it in reference to? It was in reference to PHU inmates, which was the original term for SNY. It was called Protective Housing Unit, and that's where people went that had problems with inmates from the general population. Okay, so when did the term 50-50 come around? It came around in the late 90s that I can recall, because it was when certain people that were PHU were allowed to come back to a general population setting among general population inmates who were no longer political. So basically a soft prison, that they call soft prisons where there wasn't a lot of politics and there were a lot of old school cats that were just trying to lay low, but they had never went PC.
And in those situations, was it Hispanics on those yards?
Yes.
And those Hispanics on those yards, were they considered all bad by their race?
No, because the politics were a lot more flexible back then. Just like...
So even then the Hispanics was able to go to those yards?
Yes, sir.
And you wasn't deemed all bad?
No.
Okay, so what about mental health? What was your first experience with mental health?
My first experience with mental health was in Pelican Bay SHU, 1993, September 1993. This is the anniversary of it. When they had a unit called VCU, the Violent Control Unit. And what that was a unit where all the worst of the worst would go. You couldn't have any property, you couldn't have any books, you could only have legal work and one Bible and one Quran, and you only had the change of clothes that you had on your back and one sheet.
And no,
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. So that was your first experience with mental health in prison, right? Is that your first experience with mental health in general?
Yes.
In
prison.
In general.
No, I had some issues since I was like, my earliest memory, 9 months old. You know, some shit that was like the poltergeist, without going into details.
Right.
The Exorcist. You know, it's been a lifelong problem with me.
So this has been something that you've been suffering with
since infancy, literally.
Right. And all your homies that know you know about this, right?
The ones that I associated with well enough do, yeah. But otherwise, I'm a private person and kept most of it to myself. Right.
And so since you've been in prison, have homies and stuff like that, are they been aware of your mental health issues?
Absolutely,
right? Because you've been open as much as you need to be, so you wouldn't be a liability to other people, right? And
but to be honest, if I can interject just briefly, what's important to understand with this, our actions dictate what people think of us. You know what I mean? Mostly, who the killers are, who's there, who does this, you know, based on our actions. And I was stabbing cops and coming to prison for attempted murder on cops and catching attempted murder on cops in prison and beating their life sentences because of the mental health thing. You know what I mean? Going to court and being found not guilty by reason of insanity, going to the state mental hospital, and all this further work that I put in against cops. Those were the ones I was gangbanging with all the way from 18. So I was considered crazy based on the fact that I would stab a cop before I would stab an inmate over something that was seen insignificant.
Right.
So the fact
that the cop is the enemy.
Was my enemy.
Right. Of course.
And that reminds me, you know, when I first got to Salinas in 1996, there was a whole lot of convicts assaulting the correctional staff. It seemed like almost, man, it would seem like almost every month, you know, every month they would lock us down for a convict assaulting an officer. So yeah, you know, it seemed like there was more of that going on back in those times.
Of course, I understand that. And so, since how long you been EOP?
I was the first person. I was the first 75 people to ever become EOP because of the Violent Control Unit in Pelican Bay. My friend, who is a Norteño, who is now dropped down SNY like me, his name is Alejandro Madrid. Anybody could look it up. It's the landmark case that changed the face of corrections since he did the civil suit. I was a part of that civil suit. All of us were in the Violent Control Unit. When the suit got picked up and they was filing it, all of us that was in VCU got picked up out of there and placed in a pilot program, the first EOP unit ever established in Pelican Bay, yes sir, in 1994. And all of us were in there. All of us that was a part of that case and it was in VCU have had a permanent SHU exclusionary chrono in our folders and in our file, and most of us can't even go back to Pelican Bay because of being involved in that case, which opened up the whole parameter for California.
Was it Hispanics involved in that?
Yeah, Alejandro Madrid.
Is it Hispanic? Okay, my bad, yeah.
He's a Norteño out of San Francisco. His nickname for the clique, his clique was called Cano.
And this was before it was any of that, any designation as far as just PC and GP.
Before, well, there's still a designation for PHU, PC
at that time. But even those dudes wasn't just, unless they told on somebody or had a bad case, they wasn't just all bad, right?
It wasn't just, well, it was like it wasn't much of a conversation piece because there were so few actual PCs, and there was so lax between those going PC and coming back to GP. Without, I mean, if it's okay, I hate to say names, but to give a perfect example, it's Kevin Dykes, a homie from Fruittown or Treetop Power, Double OG. He's from Piru out of Compton. Everybody knows Kevin Dykes that knows anybody.
I think back in the days, an individual, going PC or all bad, it definitely was extremely taboo, right? I don't necessarily know if you have more individuals. I guess so. I was gonna say I don't know if you have more individuals going PC today and SNY and snitches and stuff. It may seem like that, in part due to social media and stuff. But yeah, back in those times, man, it was very surprising. When you heard somebody was a snitch, they was no good or whatever, because gangbanging, I believe the street life was more of a lifestyle. Now to me, it's more of a fad.
Okay, good.
He was in PA. He was in a PHU, and then he came back, and he had the keys to the yard. When he came back, he got the keys. So just to give you an indication of how loose it was. And depending on who the generals were, who the shot callers were, and so it was lax. It was lax depending on. As long as you didn't do nothing to nobody's children or testify on nobody, those were basically the only aspects that prevented you from being to have that flexibility. If you testified on somebody or did something to somebody's kids, that was automatically he was ass out.
And you from an old school generation.
Yes, sir.
And
56.
It's safe to say that you ain't never turned down no fades. You ain't never testified on nobody. You ain't got no bad case, none of that, right? And you didn't get ran off the line, right?
No, I just left.
You told me a story the other day about why you left. You want to share it?
Yeah, I was in Pelican. I was in Folsom, New Folsom, and during Black August.
Explain to everybody what Black August is who might not know.
Black August is a tributation to all the Black Panthers and all the BGFs and all the revolutionaries. I mean, all the way back from Nat Turner, who did his thing in August, the Sounds of Jubilee, when they killed all the slave owners and for 3 days and then went on a rampage while they were slaves in the first real revolution. And so August was in tribute to all the fallen comrades throughout the history of America who died representing, and most of the BGS were the ones who upheld this practice. And so you would fast for the month, you would exercise, you would do your studies. There were certain things you would do in tribute to the fallen soldiers over the hundreds of years, and for that month. So during that month now, nobody really practices. Not even BGF. Some of them don't do it. They don't do follow all the tenets of the structure. And other dudes would do it just like you didn't have to be a Muslim to do Ramadan. You just would do it out of spirit. You know what I mean?
Out of support
for the cause. So
now, when I first got to prison, 1996, you still had. I'm gonna say that was probably about the time that I seen the most individuals still participating in Black August, recognizing Black August. Like, I happened to be in a cell with Big H, and I believe he's the one who first made me aware of Black August. And you fast during the day, like he said, in recognition of all these soldiers who sacrificed their life. Later on in time, I didn't know many individuals who still would partake in Black August. It probably was dudes on the yard who still done it and I didn't know of them, but I'm talking about in mass numbers. Like when I initially hit Salinas, I definitely didn't see that later on in my time.
Everybody was doing Ramadan and Black August when I first came to prison. So in 2018 in New Folsom, the Bloods, all the Bloods and all the BGFs were fighting each other and backpacking and stabbing each other over who had the drugs and the phones on the yard during Black August. So
in the prison
where the last revolutionary of the Black Panther BGF movement got killed.
And that's, that's pretty strange right there, because it's always been said, or I've always heard that the BGF and dudes from up north, they don't like Crips, but they had a better relationship with the Bloods. Matter of fact, I've heard of somewhat of an alliance that they used to have that was called the Bloody Waters. The Bloody Waters being the Bloods, of course. So that's where you get the bloody part, and then the Waters is, the brothers up there from the Bay Area and this and that. But man, when them phones hit, it brought out a lot of jealousy. It brought out a lot of scandalous stuff, because keep in mind or imagine dudes who've been locked up and they've been in prison 15, 20 years, 25, 30 years, you get one 15-minute phone call every day, sometimes once a month if you don't have a job. And so that little 15 minutes goes by fast, especially if you call, your mom is there, you got some brothers or homies at the house, you want to talk to your sister, your brother, whoever. That time goes by so fast. So now these dudes have these phones, and they're able to sit up on the phone all night and look at all types of stuff. Look at women, get in contact with old friends, Facebook, it just, man, those phones definitely brought out a lot of shadiness in some individuals, man. I would see dudes get other people's phones and claim that when it was time to give it back, oh man, I had to flush it down the toilet. Some dudes would just straight out say, you're not getting the phone back. I took your stuff. So yeah, those phones definitely with some people brought out a lot of chaos.
On that was his error. He got killed in August, which was a slap in the face. That made sure they did it in Black August.
Right.
And then within a couple of years, in the same time his mother, his memory was not truly represented properly, nor was the retaliation that should have happened for it. They was fighting each other. Our Bloods and BGF were kissing cousins through my whole career that I know of. And they was rolling on, they was best friends, even though separate entities. They were allies. And they was trying to kill each other in prison where they just killed. And during the holy month of the revolution of our people, they were fighting each other to the death over who had the drugs and the phones and who had the females. And I said that was my cue. I had to get out the way.
And that's when we left.
And that's when I left.
Nobody ran you off.
Nobody, nah. I was even on a different yard from what was happening, but I just decided I can't. Nobody was speaking against it, and those who spoke that acted like they was in any way upset about it was frowned upon. I was told by a dude that was a BGF, fuck Africa, nigga, I don't give a fuck about Africa. And that was all.
And that was from the BGF.
That was from the ex-BGF.
The ex-BGF. These are the people that supposed to be our champions and represent us as a people, right?
Told me that when we was having a conversation, and it scared me to death, bro. It scared me to death. I don't know who to trust. I don't know what's what. I'm getting the hell out of the way.
I think that's, that happens a lot with individuals in whatever gang or organization that they're functioning with in prison. The individuals who was really put their heart into, and their beliefs into whatever they was representing. And then all of a sudden you get some type of epiphany, and you realize that, everybody is not as dedicated as I'm dedicated. And they tend to want to walk away from, from whatever they was representing. I'm definitely not saying that, that's a reason that a dude should go SNY or whatever. But what I'm saying is that is why you have a lot of individuals separate themselves from whatever it is they was representing when they realize that, basically, man, this is not what I've signed up for. Things have changed, and I didn't sign up for homies killing homies or whatever their reasons may be. But sometimes when you see the light and you see things are different and people are no longer supporting what the original thing was about, yeah, you do have some people who get disenchanted and feel it's time for them to go.
All right, so I just wanted to double back for a minute on the EOP, SNY, and all of that. But do you remember when the term or SNY first came around?
Yeah, that didn't come around till a lot later. Till I say 99 at the early 2000.
2000.
That's when I first heard of it.
And when you first heard about it, what was the context of it?
It was called sensitive need yards, and that's where mostly Mexicans and whites were going because their politics were a lot more stricter than African politics. So they were coming in and they had to adhere to rules and regulations and responsibilities of an adult that they didn't want to do because they didn't want those discipline programs. So they would do the SNY thing, and I was in Pelican Bay Shoe at the time. I mean Corcoran Shoe at the time, okay. And that's when it got to me.
Okay, so
and that reminds me of a quick story, man. You know, if you guys been on my page for a while, I told you about a real funny friend of mine, man, by the name of KG. He's the one who started calling me Arthur Trash. Due to my tennis playing skills, man. And he was just telling me, because he had went to West Yard, and he had came back to the East Yard CMC, right? And he had got caught up with a phone. He was telling me, hey, chill, man, you Northerners, man. He said, man, them dudes is with the business and this and that. He said, but man, if I was a Northerner, I would have had to drop out soon as football season came. He said, because man, them dudes be standing outside in the rain. It's raining and stuff. And my boy KG, he loved that football, man. He loved to gamble and play tickets. He'd do that all day. He'd go crazy sweating, you know, sweating the TVs and sweating the games and stuff like that, man. But yeah, KG was funny, man. He said, man, I couldn't have been no Northerner. He said I would have dropped out soon as football season came. So yeah, that's what it reminds me of, man.
You know, with a lot of people, problems with EOP yards or 50-50 yards is they are saying that we are over here and we're programming with bad people, child molesters, you know, rapists and snitches. And I mean, programming is a strong way to put it, because I mean, you don't have to deal with nobody that you don't want to deal with.
That's right.
So in that context, and they like to bring up the gay shit that goes on unchecked on these kind of yards.
Man.
So
can I say something about that?
Go ahead.
That a lot of people don't know. When I came to prison in the 80s, I got a D level, late 80s. Man, the homosexuality was rampant across the board. And I'm talking about GP, like I know OG dudes whose names I don't name because I don't want no extra problems, who used to get they sucked by on the yard during yard time out there.
Now that's crazy right there. And you know, keep it 100 though. I got to the pen in 96, and I never really seen that type of stuff, but you definitely heard stories from dudes talking. You know, I've been around a long time. I've heard dudes talking about these famous homosexuals, Purple Passion and a few other dudes, man. And yeah, they said that, you know, it was some wild things going on in the 80s, man, in the 80s, you know, early 90s and stuff. Yeah, so depending on where you was at and who you was around, it definitely was some wild stuff going on.
I mean, under the bleachers and in the bathroom and under the boxing ring on the yard, bro. Not in the, I mean.
And this is this all races?
All races, all nationalities. Matter of fact, let me tell you. So you got me on.
That's crazy, right? He said, man, dudes was getting fellatio under the boxing ring while somebody was getting hit in the head. Somebody was under the ring getting head. So that's that's something crazy right there, man. You know, yeah, man, come on, man. I'm up here trying to learn and train, man, and you down there, you know what I'm saying? Oh man, hey, yeah, that's crazy, man.
The reason why homosexuals wasn't allowed on GP yards is because there were riots between blacks and Mexicans and whites over the punks back in the days.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And all the way up until 19 97 or 8. I remember even in Pelican Bay, homies who I don't want to name because I don't want to know because they got keys to certain yards and I don't need no shit.
Right, so these people are still GP right now.
GP. And I remember walking by their cell to talk to them and deliver a message, and they in a bunk with a punk spooning. You know what I mean? They both on the same bunk, spoon, hugged up, nothing but in their drawers. And this was in the GP yard, Pelican Bay in 1996 and 7. And so, and there was so much undercover homosexuality all the way up until 99, 2000 in Pelican Bay.
So it's hard to believe that ever stopped, right?
And let me say something, right? And this has just been my experience, right? Because I have been on the yard in Ironwood, B yard had a couple homosexuals, right? Also A yard, right? And in my experience, the majority of the dudes who were messing with homosexuals didn't even have life. That's the crazy part, man. I knew one dude, man, this dude was married, going on family visits and living in the cell with a homosexual, man. Yeah, man, dude up out of San Bernardino. I gotta keep it 100, man. And on B yard, right? That was on A yard. I was on B yard as well, right? And you had a dude there, man, up out of Riverside, messing with a homosexual, man. And so and he ended up going home, and they say when he went home, he told the homosexual, hey, don't be messing with nobody up in here when I leave. This dude is free going home, and he worried about what the homosexual was doing in prison. So yeah, it's definitely something that would happen from time to time,
Right. If these same people are running the yards now, even though it's not in public, it's hard to believe that ever stopped, right?
Right.
And we can only talk about our homies, right, because we know what our homies was doing.
Seen it. So, they just hearing about it. I'm talking about Johnny on the spot. I done seen it,
Right.
You had to be careful walking up on the dude's door back in the day.
And nobody said nothing.
And nobody said nothing about it. Nothing.
Now, this portion right here is where, because he has two parts to this, right? And so I fused them together so I can react to him better. So this next part, when it comes on, I don't know if this was a continuance of this conversation that just went off. I don't think it was, because like I said, he uploaded two separate parts.
So, and even that, right? Can you blame people?
No, because everything on the main line where we'll be at has changed over so much with the secrecy and the politics.
And see, just for clarification, when he asked him, can you blame people? I don't think he's talking about, can you blame people for being in relationships with in same-sex relationships. Let's just say that, so I don't, get a YouTube censor or get in trouble or whatever.
And the more you get into that, the uglier it gets. You know what I mean? The grimier it gets.
You damn right about that, man. For those who partake, the more you got into that, the uglier it got, I'm assuming.
And so,
hey, it's safe to say that you've been around a lot of people, right? And you got these people that's on the main line and running our hoods in the streets, and they act as though they don't have flaws. They act as though they don't have flaws, and I think it's safe to say that for a fact that a lot of these people did fucked up shit.
Right.
And I think, that's the problem sometimes, man, with having individuals. And when I'm speaking solely for the black cause that I've been around, having individuals who have a voice, or who maybe calling dogs for that particular organization or entity or car, right? A lot of times with the blacks, it's the ones who are the most violent, the ones who have the reputation for doing extreme violence. And just because you are you have a propensity for extreme violence doesn't necessarily mean you are a thinker or intellectual. And sometimes that's where things get messed up. It always should be individuals who are operating on intelligence, not operating on emotions or violent tendencies.
Do you think it's fair that they so hard pressed on being unforgiving like that over there, seeing as though they might have so many flaws?
To be honest, I don't think it's fair at all, but neither, a lot of things I don't think is fair. It's more than what I think, is what I know. They following politics of a different race. You know what I mean?
True.
I've been in high power. When Elimu called down Tookie Williams, rest in peace, the big homie that started the Crips, he was my neighbor. We didn't have conversations and rap about some of these things. I've been next door neighbors in 2904, the 6-man unit that's there for high power. Next door to Indio, both the Indios that started Mexican Mafia, the one on Death Row and the one that was in Pelican Bay Shoe. I done broke bread with these people, ate with these people, talked with these people, and even they have said that they dictate policy. I've watched police come in there with shoeboxes full of money and whatever and give it right to their cell. I've been around people who had the keys to the game across the country, not just in California corrections. And these are people that schooled me and talked to me and was my neighbors that I ate with. So
some people may find that hard to believe, right? But there's no doubt in my mind that he's seen that type of stuff and those things, those type of things go on, man. You don't need no major degree or no major educational training to be a correctional officer. All you have to do is complete high school, right? And for those individuals who have seen some of these YouTube videos or just prison videos, period, where people are in prison recording stuff with the phones, man, the majority of those phones are brought in by correctional officers. If you're at a prison where a phone is going for $2,000 or $3,000 and the CO is probably getting $1,000 a phone, he can bring in 3-4 phones a month, 4 or 5 phones a month, and make more or just as much as he's making for his entire monthly salary. So do you believe that just because they're guards, they're not corrupted? Everybody is corruptible. You have a lot of individuals who are corruptible, and these guards, when they see the money that can be made, bringing in contraband, of course they partake in it. So don't automatically dispel what this individual is saying, and don't think that what he's saying is not true.
And they're not shy about
and we dictate this. Man, we don't even have to make anybody, our own people, get on the blacks. If we wanted to, we have them killed. We have them poisoned. Have the police do it, set them up, whatever. So we dictate policy in prison as well as on the street, in the street game with the cartels we run. And so, I'm not speaking nothing on that don't nobody know. So I don't mind being candid about it. But I done been around. I done been there with 4 or 5-star generals with the BGF and that's now rest in peace, as well as the Mexican Mafia and Crip gang. You know what I mean? And everybody done made mistakes. That's the one thing in common. Everybody has made mistakes, even if it was a mistake of judgment against other people.
So when did you think that it became so unforgiving? Because there was a time when you made a mistake, you got an issue, and you kept it going, right?
My own belief in that is just that, in my experience, in my clouded mind from my issues, the best I can tell you is that my belief system on that is when people who have something serious to hide came to power.
They had to be.
The guilty person screams the loudest against those who are considered guilty.
Because they.
Now, in my experience of doing time, right, this is how I feel, right? You always should try to make a homie instead of break a homie whenever you can, right? You may have a dude, man, who's been in jail. Let's say this dude been in jail 7 years and he's been working out the whole 7 years. And then one of his homies pull up. You have two type of individuals, man. One individual is going to invite that dude to the weight pile and help him, with his strength and say, hey, man, listen, if you can't do a pull up, grab the bar, bend your knees, I'll hold your knees, and help you do a couple of pull-ups, right? And then I'll take it easy on you, so on and so forth. Then you'll have another dude, oh, you ain't ready for me. Come on out here, homie. Get up there. Do 20. Give me 20. Give me 20. Drop down. Give me 30 push-ups. And eventually what they end up doing is they end up running this dude off and away from working out because it's too hard for him. And he's like, oh, yeah, I ran the homie Chill in the dirt. Chill ain't ready for me. But then so what you have done is instead of building a soldier, you have ran off a soldier, man. To be in tip-top shape when you're in prison due to the spontaneous violence that breaks out is something that is extremely important, and a lot of people fail to realize that, right? If you are going to participate, or if you're going to be one of the individuals that get cracking and participate, man, you have to be able to be in shape, and you have to know how to fight. Like I always say, man, you cannot have the mind of a warrior in the body of a walrus. You have to be able to do what you do, right? And so you hear criticism, man, sometimes that the blacks don't stab their homies when they violate and this and that. And to me, it just always depends on what an individual has done, right? I don't necessarily think that if an individual is not doing something repeatedly or malicious, and he's not doing something that's going to put himself and the rest of his homies at risk, then you get a warning or time or two or talking to, or it just all depends, right? I don't want to be held in stone to those words, but it just depends on the nature of the violation, right? And once again, as long as it's not repeated, and as long as it's not putting the card that he functions with or his race at an immediate risk, there's always room to let an individual grow and embrace a dude and help him to understand and get his act together.
They didn't want stuff to get out, so they had to be aggressive. They had to overcompensate. They had to overcompensate. Exactly. And you told me that you done seen stuff, and a lot of the stuff you don't speak on, and don't speak specific names because it's dangerous stuff. It's not nothing to play with. You know what I'm saying? But they need to get homies away from us. And now they use the power that they achieved by doing that to do what? Oppress us even more?
Not to oppress us even more, but just to get along in the conditional circumstances that they got set up by other powers that control their fate. The unseen hand, so to speak. That hand means something, and everybody knows, you know what I mean? When they see that handprint, that it means, you know what I mean, what's indicated. And so those are the unseen hands at work in politics and prison.
So, you from that generation of homies that could barely walk the line because it was so little of y'all, right?
Right? Oh, yeah, in the beginning, yeah.
In the beginning?
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
Well,
so what he's basically saying is, and I've heard this a lot, that back in the early 80s, the Bloods or the Damus was so outnumbered, just due to sheer numbers, that it was hard for them to go to some prisons because no matter how bad and tough they were, they just didn't have the numbers to be able to function on certain lines, right? And so Chances always talks about, though, how tough the Bloods were back in those days, and you had to be tough once again, because if you were outnumbered 10-1 by the Crips, what can you do? And I've always said that regardless of who you are, who you function with, what race you are, if you function with a certain collective and they want you off that yard, and it's 35, 50 of them, you're going to leave that yard. You might leave on your own, or you might leave beat up and stabbed, but you're going to leave that yard.
Back in the 80s, when I was coming up and banging, the Bloods was always outnumbered about 12-1. Everybody wanted to be a Crip, and if they didn't want to be a Crip, they wanted to be a Crip sympathizer. Bloods was frowned upon, and we was few but strong, at least the ones I associated with.
And it's okay, I think it's okay to name a couple homies that was solid back then, right? That paved the way for other people to be able to.
I'm talking about dudes that they're not even like no more, but one of them is Evil Al from LAWA. Another one is both the Tombstones, Big and Little Tombstone, you know what I mean? From Yola, from BPS. O.G.LANEYACK, rest in peace. Stanley Pitts from Nudist Park, old man now, you know what I mean? And I think he passed too just recently.
And these are the people who paved the way.
They paved the way in the 60s and 70s, right? Shit.
You know what I'm saying? And as far as being able to, for these young dudes to be able to do the things that they do right now, what part do you feel that Peabody played in that?
I feel like Peabody played a significant role, a unique and significant role in the beginning of that, because he was there around that time, you know what I mean? He was there at the foundation. But I don't know enough about my big homie to be able to elaborate in detail about what he did, because he was a part of something that I didn't never take paperwork. Just to be lame, you was guilty by association. Back there in the 80s. If you was lame, you was UBN. That's it.
And let's say, is it safe to say that what it started as is way far off from what it is now?
It's way far off, because I got into it with my homie O.G. Green, the general from UBN, over some of the things he was doing with the little homies. I mean, he got caught up in the drug thing, and he was abusing and bullying the little homies. And so with the other big homies that I loved, that came up under, and I fought these dudes. I mean, we fought death fight. We didn't fight to win, we was fighting to kill. You know what I mean? So it put me in a hot seat for a while, especially when I dusted off a general. You know what I mean? And almost killed him. And the only way I stopped is by his lieutenant putting a gun on me, told me if I didn't stop, he was going to kill me. So I let him go, and we moved on. But that changed the politics for me in the hood for the homes, because I had an argument in one of the hood meetings with homies who went to side up with the South Roads to attack the Hoovers. And I said, no, we ain't having that. We ain't hooking up with no Mexicans to attack no niggas. We fight our own battles and do our own dirt, and we don't do it at all. We go peace treat with them niggas before we hook up with some Sureños.
And that's because you knew.
And I think that's deep right there, I remember one time I was at a particular prison, and I heard a blood from Compton talking with another Mexican dude from Compton, and he was talking about how his hood and that hood would get together and go ride on their common enemy, who was some Crips. And to me, that was crazy, just just I guess coming together, with another race to ride against your own race, even though it's all gang activity, right? Regardless of different races, if this gang is beefing with that gang, at the end of the day, what doesn't really matter who kills you, right? If you're beefing with a Mexican gang and a black gang, and either one of them dudes come through and kill you, you're dead. You're no more dead than you would be if you got killed by a member of your own race. But due to the California prison system being so political, and a lot of that, to keep it 100, a lot of that rhetoric, a lot of those philosophies make their way back to the streets. It just seems crazy, because keeping it 100, if you really gang banging, chances are extremely high. And when I say really gang banging, I mean you really out there, you putting work, you riding around with that pistol, you doing your thing. Chances are extremely high at some point in time you're gonna go to prison. And then when you go to prison, you're gonna fall up under, at least for the time you're in prison, those racial politics where you stick together by race.
Of how these people felt about us, no matter who they beef with, that they was going to use us as a tool. That's it,
as a tool.
And you knew this already from being in prison, and understanding and having experiences that they didn't give a fuck about us.
Man, I paroled after 4 years, opening up Pelican Bay, got right out of Pelican Bay shoe, and acted a fool. I was just a kid. And the homies was on some shit, working with some of the messages. I'm like, it's good to treat your neighbors right, but don't work with them and no crime against another black person. That's how we do our own work.
And that caused a lot of problems for you.
That caused a lot of problems for me, that looking at me funny, and then after getting into it with some of the generals behind my ideas and beliefs, I moved out of my own hood and stayed permanently over there in Crenshaw Mafia, because I wasn't safe there, because I did some things to some generals, and all they had to do was just put some paperwork and get me lit.
Man, thanks for popping out, man. I appreciate it, man. I do. way far off from what it is now?
It's way far off because I got into it with my homie O.G. Green Dog, General from UBN, over some of the things he was doing with the little homies.
Okay, yeah, I think that's we already heard that part. And I don't know the name of this individual's YouTube channel because it was a bunch of numbers and this and that. But if you want to see the video, it's called Kleptolaniac. CLEPTOLANEY, I think C something like that. So just look that up, right? Anyway, man, y'all already know what it is. It's your boy 16 of Life. Resume normal program.